There we go. It takes a moment to go live. You click the button and you gotta wait. So, welcome to the first ever Hotcakes Hangout. Depending on how this goes, we'll continue to do this. And if you're watching this, thank you for joining us. I'll introduce our guest this month in just a moment. My name's Will Strohl. I'm one of the owners and the director of product development here at Hotcakes Commerce. So my job is to basically make sure that everybody is happy. Happy product. I deal with client and partner relationships and things like that. So if you need anything, feel free to contact me using the not the hashtag, but the Twitter handle that you see there. And you can also email us at info@hotcakescommerce.com. And if you're not familiar with Hotcakes, hopefully you are, but we are an e-commerce platform, but we are an e-commerce CMS platform built for everyone on your team. So what that means is everybody on your team can use it. So that being said, I'm going to introduce our speaker here in just a moment. And so our speaker here is Mr. David Poindexter. He's the founder he calls himself Geek EO. I think that means CEO of nvisionative. So welcome to this month's episode, David.
Thanks, Will. I appreciate you having me on. Excited to do this.
Yep. So David is part of, or like I said, he's the leader of nvisionative, and they're one of our first partners. I think they might even be our first partner. So their team specializes in delivering websites for their clients. So why don't you tell us a little bit, David, about what nvisionative is? Where did it come from?
Sure. We have been in the business for quite some time, and especially in this community, been involved quite some time. But we, like many small businesses, find ourselves reinventing ourselves as time goes on and needs change of our clients and so forth. And recently, we've been having a lot of fun internally, just kind of really figuring out who we are. After all these years, who are we? What do we really want to be? Who do we want to be serving, and how do we want to be serving them? And we've come up with a great kind of one-liner that really encapsulates who we are and what we desire to do. So we call ourselves a small band of tech-savvy creatives who balance dreams and discipline to turn original ideas into living brands. So pretty nice and high-end there, but we love to impact every aspect from the customer story all the way through their strategy and ultimately the design that they're portraying to their clients and so forth. So that involves a lot of different things, from tech to marketing and branding and that type of thing as well.
So would it be fair to say, like, you're something of a digital agency? You when a client comes to you, you're capable of delivering a full website presence to them?
Absolutely. Yeah. Full turnkey from whatever their needs are, really based on what their brand messaging is and what their targets are and what they desire to do.
Well, I think that's something you also help them with, right? So like if a client came to you and they didn't really maybe they didn't really have a brand message yet, or they're undecided about it, or they want help with it, is that something they can come to you for?
Absolutely. That's really where we like to start. Is we're all about the idea, and big things can happen from a great idea. So we like to say that we have your next big idea or great idea. So from there really comes that storyline and the strategy behind what you're wanting to do, as well as the execution on the design and the technical aspects of it. So really, if it's not feeding from there, we're not in our sweet spot. We really want to be in that higher level of thinking and then execution from there.
Cool. So before I dive real more into that, because I have some pointed questions around what the customer can expect and things like that. But where is nvisionative located? Where are you?
Well, we are located pretty close to Charlotte, North Carolina, in the United States, and a little town called Mooresville. If any of you are a racing fan, NASCAR in particular, this is pretty much a hub for that. So there's a lot of racing, but there's also a lot of larger corporations like Lowe's Home Improvement is headquartered here as well. So there's companies like that here as well. So not nice, quaint little town, but vibrant and nice and modern.
Nice. So was it always there? Is this someplace you moved to? Like what drew you to Mooresville? Is it just where you started?
Well, we've been in what 3 or 4 different locations at this time, but we feel like we found our home here. We're always been in the Charlotte area, Charlotte surrounding area, but we wanted to be over here closer to the lake and so forth. We have a lot of natural ties in this area and so forth. So
Nice, nice. Now, you may be in Mooresville, but where do your clients need to be? Do you have any preference on like region for your clients, anything like that?
well, we of course like a lot of companies like to work local with clients and so forth, be able to sit down face to face and so forth. But that being said, we do have clients all over the world, a lot abroad as well. So we're used to working remote and being nice and video connected and and all of that. So
Yeah, well, with things like Hangouts, I don't think there's any such thing as being completely remote, right?
true.
Yeah, yeah. So when we talk about like who your customer is, they could potentially be anywhere. But when you think of okay, I can't wait for my next client, and my next client looks like this. So, what is your typical nvisionative client?
Well, the ideal one is one that is very sophisticated in their thought process. Kind of going back to where we were started off at explaining our company. If they are thinking about their brand, if they're thinking about their strategy, if they're thinking about their marketing, what exactly is the goal and who they are. If they're at that level of thinking, that's really a great client for us because everything funnels out from that. If a client comes in and hey, I want to, $500 website. I was going to go to GoDaddy, but I kind of want somebody to design it right. That's probably not a good match for us, just because they're not at that level of thinking. But as far as market segments and so forth goes, we don't really have a niche vertical or verticals that we work in. However, we have had a lot of success in the medical world as well as universities and in the education sector.
That's interesting. So when we talk about your customer, I think what I heard in that is that your customer isn't somebody who just started business. Your customer is maybe somebody whose business has been around for a little bit at least, and they've seen some success and they want to take it to the next level. Maybe would that be fair to say?
That's probably more typical than not. However, we do get a lot of startup opportunities that come in that. Either it's a serial entrepreneur or a group of entrepreneurs that have done it before and they're wanting to do it again in a different space. That's a great thing as well, especially when it comes to like launching new products and that type of thing. Our creative director, Ansel Brown, has had much success in the national realm with brand names like Baskin-Robbins and Family Dollar and M&M Mars and companies like that, helping to turn their potentially not so successful product brands around. For instance, like Smooth and Creamy Hard Candy was one of Baskin-Robbins' kind of a dying candy brand. Well, it wasn't kind of, it was dying. And he redesigned it, rebranded it, the packaging and so forth, and then turned it around within about 6 to 8 months into the fastest growing hard candy in the country. Got on cover of Packaging Digest. So while it may be a more sophisticated client like that, it may also be a startup where we can really do the ground up type work and really focus on doing it right from the beginning.
Cool. So what is well, actually, before I get there, let's talk about the customer a little bit more. So when a customer comes to and don't give away any trade secrets. I don't want, you don't have to give away your secret sauce here. But when we talk about a customer that comes in, and they're like, "Hi, nvisionative, I think you're great. Let's get started with the process." What can a customer expect when they come to you? What is that process of getting engaged with nvisionative?
Well, it's really interesting. It really kind of depends on their focus. If they are more focused on the idea, they'll get a very creative process, which is not tied strictly to some particular methodology or anything like that. I mean, it may even feel to some a little bit loose, kind of loose cannonish. But it's all about the brainstorming and coming up with that idea that's really going to make a big difference. If a client is more focused on execution of a particular something, then they will get something a little more structured. So, when it comes down to the technical and the software development type thing, we frequently follow the agile methodologies and Scrum. So they'll get something a little more structured along that lines. But they can expect effective communication. They can expect great ideas. They can expect some bantering, and they can expect a little bit of tension, but in a healthy way.
Healthy tension. Yeah, I know. I know at least one person that would love that term. So that's good. So when we, so what is so you do e-commerce projects, obviously, amongst other things, like Hotcakes is part of your toolbox, and so when Hotcakes, well, how did Hotcakes get into your toolbox? So what about it drew you to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have been doing e-commerce for many years and had actually gotten to a point, Will, where we were just done. We had used so many different solutions that at the end of the day, unless a client has gone through that whole process before and is very sophisticated in that, it's usually a shock to the system how many decisions need to be made, what can and can't be done, and sometimes explaining that, yeah, you're using this off-the-shelf product, but it has flexibility in this area, but not these 20 areas over here where you need it to do something. So we kind of got burnt out on losing our shirt, quite honestly, on many projects. And really at that time is when you guys came on the scene, and we were like, whoa, hold on, wait a second. More of a framework solution, where we have clear extension points to be able to do virtually anything that our client could dream up. That's what got us back on the bandwagon. And so we really invested from the very beginning, trying to provide a lot of feedback to your team and to really help move things forward. And I think we signed up with 4 clients in the beta program right off the get-go. So it was a lot of fun, and we learned a lot through that process. And we're real excited because it's something that we can depend on now. We know it. We've invested the time to do it, and we know that we have a lot of flexibility with it.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons Hotcakes was even built was our founders. We had also built plenty of e-commerce sites, and we felt the pain, and it's not in any particular area, any particular stack, any particular platform. It was pretty much across the board. There were pains, right? Why can't I do this? Well, why did we have to invest this much time and this much energy and pass that on to our client to do this when it should have just done this? And why can't I integrate these things? So that was so hearing that is a good it's a good reminder of the roots that we came from and some of our values that we put forth in our releases on a daily basis. So with the when we talk about that, with that flexibility, when you are talking to your customers, they one of the things I guess you have realized is that you could have 100 different e-commerce customers, and you're going to have 100 different recipes, so to speak, of how they want and think that their e-commerce store should work. At least that's been our experience. So what is when you walk into this, what is like the most common challenge that your customers are coming to you with in their e-commerce site that you find yourself solving?
Well, more often than not, it's really more about the front end experience and them having some specific ideas on how they want things to flow. So every once in a while, we'll have an opportunity where they'll want to do some more extensive integration, like with their ERP. But most of the time, it's front end type workflow type things, and what they really want to show and how they want to show it. And it's great to no longer be a barrier to their ideas. So really good.
Nice. Now, When we talk about the process, we probably, it sounds like you have an ideation stage of some kind, a brainstorming. Hopefully, you more than likely have a design stage, and you have a development stage. That those both might run through a Scrum process. What's that look like for that the start of that process for a customer, and all the way to the point that they have their site going live? Like, is there a typical timeline that you see with your clients that's new clients can expect? Like, they walk in here and they know that it could be 1 to 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, we although we do follow the Scrum methodology and so forth as much as we can, when it comes to the design aspect of it, sometimes that deviates a little bit from there. So we do try to, as best we can, and it's a little bit more waterfallish, I suppose, define what we know up front based on their needs. Good news is the more that we do with Hotcakes, the more we know more about what the level of effort is going to be before we get started. So unless it's an incredibly complex project, in that case we just roll it agile completely. We try to work through that at the beginning so that they have a good idea of the general timeline that we believe it is, but then we implement the Scrum, go for it, and iterate through. And a lot of times we let their budget and or timeline drive the project. So we really put the client in control as opposed to us. Like I said, we don't like putting the barriers in front of them. So dream on. We'll let you know what we think it'll take, and then you can make the decision as we plan those sprints.
Yep. So for those of you watching, like, I deal with David on well, maybe not a daily basis, but on a regular basis, and we've known each other for quite a while. But that's one of the things I've liked about nvisionative in general is that you have a person first kind of approach, caring about the customer and customer, kind of being the important part of the project, because at the end of the day, the projects aren't about a website, it's about the people that own the website being happy, right? So I've really enjoyed that about your company.
Thank you. We proud on that.
All right, so if somebody comes to, so we set a full website presence, right? But when you got e-commerce in your toolbox, like, what other types of verticals do you have in your toolbox that are typical?
Yeah, great question. A lot of the typical type website things that you would think of, are really all within our wheelhouse. Some more specialty areas are within the learning management type world. We have extensive knowledge in that and have built systems from scratch on that. And so there's a lot of understanding there as far as even from the authoring of the course all the way through to the certification and testing of the students and so forth. A lot of that experience came from the medical world. So the perspective there was more about continuing education credits for nurses and so forth through the California Board of Nursing. So yeah, I would say that's one of our strong suits. But then, yeah, I'll just leave it at
that. Fair enough. If somebody, one of the things that I found interesting when I've been at IRCE was the wide array of knowledge about the names of certain things that we might take for granted, right? Like even saying e-commerce, one of the things that I noticed is some people they weren't sure what I meant by that if I was using that term. And so I sometimes have to explain that. And I'm sure that's probably a similar thing with learning management or LMS, learning management system. So for those watching, what is a learning management system?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question as well. And it's even more diverse really than the e-commerce space. Everybody can pretty much relate to a shopping cart, so when you throw that term out, it makes a whole lot more sense, I'm assuming. Learning management can be a lot of things. Learning management systems can be a lot of different things. You'll see everything from systems that take you all the way through the authoring process of a particular learning course, an online learning course, to systems that really loosely integrate with that type of thing, and they just allow you to do that anywhere you want to. So if you have a third-party tool that you use to author those courses, or if you use videos or that type of thing, you can do that. So when you ask somebody what a learning management system is, you're going to get a wide array of answers on that, and everybody has their own ideas of how that experience needs to be for the user as well. So we've got experience in a lot of those different type of worlds. So not to be completely evasive there, but it's a hard one to answer. It really is.
So my understanding of it, just to kind of maybe boil it down to an idea, maybe it's basically a collection of features that aids people in the journey of gaining knowledge in a specific area. And so, as you mentioned, that could be done a number of ways. It could be videos, it could be surveys, and whatnot. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely, and you articulated that pretty well. An environment at which a student can learn and hopefully receive some sort of award or certificate for that learning, and be able to track their experience both on their end as well as the company is delivering it. So everything from corporate training to full-blown certification type learning.
So I think we've discovered that nvisionative, your three primary kind of wheelhouses, I suppose, would be CMS, e-commerce, and LMS. Would that be right?
That would be fair to say on the technical side.
All right, cool. And they can all be together, right? Or do they need to be separate?
Absolutely. As we know, e-commerce and learning can be easily tied together. People pay for courses online all the time, so there is that aspect of it. As a matter of fact, one of the clients we worked on their site, they do just that. They utilize Hotcakes to be able to sell their courses and use a learning management type platform behind the scenes to deliver those courses. So it's great.
Nice. Yeah, marrying things together. So for the people that might be maybe questioning the question, one of the things that we try to help people not get in the business of is bolting on solutions. And what that would mean is, like, you have your website and then you decide to do e-commerce, and then you have a whole nother site that's doing e-commerce, and then the business grows a little bit more and you decide you need an LMS, and to David's point, maybe you need to pay for that, and so now you got three things that are different websites, maybe different servers, maybe even different locations, and so that's really the kind of genesis of that question is whether or not you have to bolt things on or not.
Yeah, it's definitely much better to have a fully integrated experience, and through the content management system that allows us to do that type of thing, and that's really wonderful.
Absolutely. So the one of the reasons that we started doing this hangout is not just to kind of get people to know us, and especially get people to know some of our partners like yourselves, but it's also, you did something really cool recently. You wanna let the cat out of the bag on this?
Yeah, sure. So we often get asked to, how do you do this in Hotcakes? How do you do that? We're trying to accomplish this. How do we go about doing that? And one question that's kind of pervade is, there are clear extension points as you guys provide, but there's also some more off the beaten path type things that you can do for integration as well that may not be clearly stated as an extension point, but it is an extension point. So we took it on ourselves recently to put together a very simple example of one of those. And the use case is, if you have a need to display some sort of dynamic data that's coming from Hotcakes land in your website, but you don't want it in the context of a module or a particular space on the site that's controllable by an administrator, then you can inject that into your theme. And wonderful thing. So we put together a nice, simple Hotcakes cart item count theme object. I started to say skin, Will.
So to kind of highlight the what we find funny about the term, for those that might not be familiar with some of these terms, Hotcakes is a very extensible platform, as we said over and over. And when you have various pages, because it is an e-commerce CMS, and it's not just like a page builder or something like that, because you have that, you can add different types of content to different pages and different places, and those apps that you add to these individual pages are referred to as modules. And so that's the term that one of the terms that David threw out there. And then the way the site looks, we often use the word theme for that. Another word that's often used that's kind of maybe a legacy term would be skins. And so those things are the same thing. And the cool thing that and so we're going to be jumping in and out of a little bit of a technical conversation here with David, but so you got a CEO who's also a coder, so that's pretty cool. But the skin object that he's talking about, or the theme object, so that's just something that, like, a module you can delegate the permissions for somebody to add a module to your page, right? And so that allows you to say, okay, I run the site, but I'm going to have Susie Q over here. She's going to be one of my content editors, and she's going to be allowed to add content to these pages. And I'm going to have John Doe over here. He's going to be able to do that as well, but maybe in a different area. But if you want a feature on a page that people can't edit, even though you give them edit permissions, this theme object is one way to do that. And so it's just, again, pointing out the flexibility of the platform overall. And so you created a skin object or a theme object. I'm doing it too. So theme is the correct word. So you created a theme object that a designer can add to the theme and have that as something of a static feature. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely. And this one is a simple one that just displays the count of the amount of items that are in a Hotcakes cart for it. So it can be placed anywhere on the site. And of course, it would have 0 in the cart if nobody has anything in their cart. But it really leaves it up to the designer to do what they want to with it. And I'll show an example here in a little bit of kind of how that can be styled as well. But very simple to install, just like any other extension within the CMS. And then I don't know how far we're going to dig into it, but the code itself is all open source. So you are able to, if you're so inclined, be able to use this as a starting point to create any type of theme object that accesses, you like the pause there, huh? Theme object that accesses data on the back end, in this case, Hotcakes. So a lot of people may not know how to access the Hotcakes API, and this is a great example of how to just do that, and it's not hard.
Excellent. So why don't we do just that? Let's kind of jump into the demo, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to ping me at Commerce on Twitter, and I'll go ahead and ask your questions. But yeah, why don't you give us a kind of a little spin on what it is and how to use it and all that good stuff.
Great. Well, I'll try to share my screen here if that's working okay. And you able to see that all right?
Yep, I see 2 windows. I see your GitHub page and the Hotcakes Commerce page.
Great. So if anybody wants to go to the GitHub site, the direct URL is github.com/nvisionative. And this particular project is Hotcakes cart item counts. And I realize my screen may be really small, so give me just a second to get my, my Zoom control here going.
Yeah, and while you do that, it's worth noting that we're going to have this Hangout posted in our blog. So you can go to hotcakescommerce.com. Our blog is found in the community area. So, and we'll go ahead and tweet out our blog as well once it's posted. But any of these links that we mention, any of these tools or anything that we might end up mentioning, we'll post a link to those as part of the show notes for the Hangout that we post into the blog.
Great. So the URL is github.com/nvisionative/hotcakes cart item count. If you could just go to the main Nvisionative page, you'll also see the project listed there among our other projects.
Yeah, so it's worth noting, if we have anybody watching that maybe is not technically inclined, please bear with us, because you're going to see some stuff that's not technical as well. So this is going to be equally beneficial for the folks that that maybe run a store and maybe a designer and developer as well. So bear with us. We're not gonna get too geeky on you.
Yeah, it's about as geeky as we get for right at this moment. But I will point out that when you get to this page here for this project, you will see a URL here that's a little bit more friendly to the less geeky, that will take you over to very similar information as you'll see in the README file here, but that'll bring you to a much more nicely formatted page that's a little more friendly there. The one thing that I will point out here is the instructions for how to utilize this module will be updated over the next few days, but right now we have a manual type installation, but as of today, you no longer have to do a manual installation, so I'll actually go through that process right now if you'd like, Will. But you'll need to get the release of the object here on GitHub, and if you go to the main, let me zoom in here so everybody can see it. Once you get to this page, oops. Once you get to this page, you will see a section here for the release. If you click on that, that will take you to the actual page where the release is. And I'll zoom in on this. And this is the file that you will actually
want. A train, or somebody playing a trick on you.
It's a train. Sorry, I couldn't control the
It's not a hangout. Make the noise.
Unfortunately, that's not Amtrak, so it's going to be a little slow through here. Yeah, this is the actual file that you'll download. This is the installation file. For any administrators out there, you're able to install this through the CMS there. And I will just pull up a site here that we can go through that process. So I'm going to log in as an administrator to this site.
See, that's not technical.
Not too bad at all.
So at this point, you've downloaded it and you're logging in, and so you're going to go install this, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the host extensions area here. And hopefully the screen's not too incredibly small here. It's a little bit easier to navigate outside of the Zoom. And I'm going to click install the extension. And by the way, don't feel like you have to memorize all of this. This is actually clearly documented through a blog post that we'll share that information in the show notes, I'm assuming.
Yep.
But I'm going to click install extension wizard, choose the file off of my local drive, and that would be not where I'm at right now, but let me get to there. I should have had this already configured there. Let's go in here, open source projects. Oops, that is not where it is.
So basically he downloaded it, he saved it somewhere, and now he's just going to upload it through this little wizard that he's using.
Okay, so now I have located the file that I downloaded from that site. I'm going to select that, go through the normal installation process. I've already got this one installed, so it's asking me to repair that installation, but if this was your first time, it would not ask you to do that. I'm going to flow through this, and you'll basically just next all the way through it.
Yeah, so there's some information in there that's not really that important to most people, but it's about like who created it, any release notes. So like, hey, this version has this new stuff, and then there was a license in there too. But this is open source, so you can just click next through there, like you just said.
Absolutely. So at the end of the process, you'll get a successful installation message. And that's really the only process that's needed in order to set you up, in order for your theme developer or yourself to modify that theme and inject this object into the theme.
So a developer created the skin object maybe, or the theme object, and then an administrator just went and installed it. So that doesn't need to be anybody technical, obviously. It was basically just point and click there. And so now a designer can get involved with the project, right? So we're covering several different bases here.
Right. So now I've got an example of a theme file here, and I'll zoom in on a few little things here. And there's really only two areas. Don't get too bogged down into the technical details of the theme itself, but this is one that already exists. So you may actually have a theme that you're already using for the site, and you simply want to inject this in the proper place in the theme. Will, this is actually one of the themes that you guys provide, the Banyan theme for download here. So all I did was modify one of these. So we'll zoom in on this. The first thing that you need to be able to do is enter a new registration for this particular theme object. And that is a simple line of code here that references the module itself. And I am not really good at this zoom tool here, Will. I'll scroll shortly here, and all it's doing is referencing a particular path to one of the user controls that is inside of the theme object. So a little bit technical here, but for any of those you are familiar with this process, it's very similar to any other type of theme object that you would enter. You'll see some up here that were already in there for things like copyright, things like terms of use.
Now, when we look at this, though, I mean, like, it doesn't even need to be that technical, right? Because once they install it, they can just copy and paste those 2 lines of code from the documentation site, right? So you don't even need to technically be a designer. You could just be somebody that is familiar and maybe dangerous enough with HTML, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you're not afraid to jump in the files, then all you need is this register code, which is available on the GitHub page. And then we would just scroll to where we want to inject that particular piece of dynamic information that we're pulling. And in this case, I'm going to zoom in on this, and you'll see here, I have chosen one particular area in the footer. Probably not the best placement for a cart item count, but I did this to not confuse with the mini cart that you guys already have in place as a module. So that way, when we see it on the site, you'll know that it's something different and not the mini cart. So I took an area here that does not have a content pane. So, you know, a content pane, for those of you who don't know, is a place that you can put modules into. So the whole point of having this in a theme object is to keep it out of that context and it to be dynamically loaded into the page without having to place a module anywhere or anything like that. So the line of code that we're interested in here, and I can't draw a straight line here, but is really the referencing what we just registered up the top. So it has a prefix associated with it. And again, this code is available right on the GitHub help page there. So you can just copy that and paste it where you want to. Now, I took the liberty of making this look a little bit better and put a little bit of HTML in here, and I referenced an image that's right out of the theme for the mini cart. So in essence, this is going to translate just about the exact same way as the mini cart does, Will. So that's really it. And what we get when we put that on the server is, and I'm just going to go to a cart page here, and we'll see that object rendered right at the foot of the page. So I'll zoom in. There it is. So in this case, we have 2 items in the cart, and it is showing 2. If I were to remove one of these items from the cart, it automatically updated to 1.
Nice. So how long did it take you to build that?
Well, so the caveat there is I know what I'm doing with it. So if you are familiar with developing custom theme objects, then the raw code only took about 30 minutes, you know, to put it all in place and get done. A lot more time was spent in making it ready for open sourcing. So making sure things were clean and very well organized. So then there was the process of the build script. And thank you for your help on that. But there is an automated way that when you build the project now, it automatically compiles that nice little install file there. So helps a little bit with deploying new features with it and so forth.
Nice. Do you have any other open source, you know, kind of forays that you're able to talk about? No pressure. I don't.
Well, I mean, I have talked about trying to put together a nice little module that is some basic reporting type dashboard type thing for Hotcakes, but within the context of a module within the CMS. So not sure when that's going to get done, but it's using some of the more modern front end type development patterns there.
Nice. Well, is there anything else to show here, or is the demo done?
That's basically it, unless you want to dig into the code.
I think we can get by on that. If somebody wants to kind of talk to you about the code, or maybe talk to you about a project, how would they get a hold of nvisionative?
Well, probably the best way is to come out to the GitHub site here, and there's a nice little issues area. So if you do have any particular things that you're looking for within for this, feel free to post an issue on the site. If you want to contact us just to talk through it, you're welcome to email me directly at dpoindexter@nvisionative.com, and that's Nvisionative starting with the letter N.
Awesome, and we'll put that in the show notes as well. Cool. Well, thanks for showing off some of your hotcakes prowess, as they say. Appreciate it. So I did realize that we just jumped right into the interview, and I did miss a piece of news that I wanted to put out there in the beginning. And so there's a couple pieces of news. So if any of our partners happen to be watching this, do you know that we're going to be scheduling a partner webinar very shortly. Apologies on the delay. I said very shortly about a month ago. Because we have some really exciting updates that we want to tell everybody about, and those updates will end up cascading to the rest of everybody else as well. And also, we just literally like an hour or two ago, we released version 1.9 of Hotcakes, and so that came with that came some additions to the promotions engine. So you have additional promotions that you can use for qualifying an order or a person or a product to receive some sort of discounts or upcharge. And that includes like getting free items for buy one get one free, or buy this other thing, get these other things free, whatever. We also have added some an update to FedEx to ensure that you are getting negotiated rates, and if not, letting you know if you have a negotiated rates and which got returned, so you have a little bit more feedback on that. But the really cool thing about the shipping side of this is that we added a shipping engines rule, or excuse me, shipping rules engine. That was a little flipped there. But the shipping rules engine allows you to specify, maybe have 10 different shipping methods, and it allows you to specify conditions to maybe have only a couple of those available in the cart at any given time. And so all of these features are all features that are configurable. Anybody who is charged with logging in and managing orders or things like that, and you have the permissions to do so when you log in, anybody with a mouse and keyboard can do those things. So that's really what we have in that particular release. Now we are tentatively planning to do some more hangouts. So let us know if you have any topics you'd like us to cover. We're going to continue to expand on this format since this is our first one. We wanted to just kind of shake out the cobwebs and the dust and figure out what we don't know about doing this for ourselves. And we look forward to doing this some more. And that being said, I want to thank David and his team and for being a great partner and specifically for being part of this this introductory hangout, I suppose. Appreciate you joining us, David.
Thanks so much. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and sign off, and we look forward to seeing you at the next hangout. And again, if you want to see the show notes or anything for this, we should have the hangout posted in our blog, hopefully by the end of the day today, and that's at hotcakescommerce.com, not clom, hotcakescommerce.com, and you can just go to the community area and you'll find the blog there. So thank you again, and thank you everybody for watching, and we look forward to helping you build an amazing new online storefront. Have a great day.